Hi, this is Erica Vixen Gavin coming to you on TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson, welcoming you back to TV Confidential, radio talk show about television. Very happy to welcome singer, actress, supermodel, and talk show host Kathleen Bradley. If you know your game show history or a fan of The Price is Right in particular, you know that Kathleen Bradley made history in the fall of 1990 when she became the first African-American model to join ranks with Barker's Beauties on The Price is Right. Some of you, however, know Kathleen best as Mrs. Parker, the sexy next-door neighbor to Ice Cube and Chris Tucker in the iconic 1995 cult classic comedy Friday. Ice Cube, I understand, specifically wanted Kathleen to play Mrs. Parker in Friday. We'll ask her about that. Not only that, Kathleen and Ice Cube recently reunited on the set of the music video shoot for It's My Ego, the lead single on Ice Cube's album release, Man Down. That is among the many events that have happened so far in 2025 to mark the 30th anniversary of Friday. We'll ask Kathleen about that as well and more in just a second. Kathleen Bradley, welcome to TV Confidential.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I like that intro. You did your homework.
I get ribbed by that a little bit by some of my guests, Kathleen, but I figure I want to pack as much information about my guests in the intro as I can so that we can focus on the business of talking to you about what you're here to talk about, which is not only the 30th anniversary of Friday, but some of the other things you've done throughout your career.
Correct. There we go. Yeah. I like that.
Okay, one thing I learned from reading your book, and Kathleen's book is called Backstage at The Price is Right. Everything you want to know about her 10-year time on the show. We'll ask her about that in just a second. But one thing I learned from reading your book, Kathleen, is that you being cast in Friday is almost a miracle, because I understand that you and the other Barker's Beauties were not encouraged to pursue or audition roles for movies or TV shows other than The Price is Right. It wasn't that they said you can't do this, but they didn't encourage you. They made it as difficult for you to do that as possible. So have you ever looked at it that way? That it's kind of a miracle that you got to do Friday in the first place?
Well, I think Friday, the whole movie in itself, was a miracle. Yeah, it was a miracle for everybody because it so happened how it turned out to be so successful. But, however, getting back to your question, yeah, we were discouraged from going out on other interviews or going out on calls or pursuing other jobs in acting or modeling or TV or what have you. So, sometimes, because I remember a few times Holly was supposed to go to do a TV show, a movie or something, and they just said, oh, well, you can't be doing that and this show, make up your mind what you want to do and all that and what have you. So, and we're thinking, of course, there's four of us, models, that we would have an opportunity to take over for each other and plenty of showcases that we could spread out where three women could easily do the show, and it would be a great opportunity for us to take a little time off. Plus, if it's a very nice movie or TV show, it can only enhance the viewership of The Price is Right, because people would like to see the Barker Beauties doing something other than the show. But, they didn't think in that manner. They didn't think that same thing. So, unfortunately, we kind of had to sneak out a few times to go and do an audition or, a little movie or a little part here and there without them knowing. It's not like we couldn't do it, but they especially didn't want us to do it on their dime.
That's right. They didn't want to do it on their dime. And as you talk about in Backstage at The Price is Right, Kathleen, the universe aligned for you during that 2-week period when you filmed your scenes for Friday, because as it happens, the 5 days when you had to go on the set or location to film your scenes, they happened to align with days that you were off from The Price is Right anyway. So the universe was in your favor that day.
Yes, it was. You know what? That is absolutely correct. It certainly was. I'm so glad. By divine order.
By divine order, we are talking to Kathleen Bradley. Kathleen Bradley, the first African-American model to join ranks with Barker's Beauties on The Price is Right, and the actress known around the world as Mrs. Parker in the 1995 cult classic Friday. Calendar year 2025 marks the 30th anniversary of the release of Friday, and to mark the occasion, Kathleen and her co-star in Friday, Ice Cube, recently reunited on the set of the music video shoot for It's My Ego, the lead single from Ice Cube's album release, Man Down, where Kathleen appears prominently in several cuts as the stylishly dressed churchgoer in the blue wide brim hat. You can follow Kathleen Bradley Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, KathleenBradley.tv. I'm not an expert on hats, and I don't know whether the hat you wear is the female equivalent of a fedora, but it's the kind of hat you often see women wear at Easter services, going to church, or if they're going out to a nightclub.
Right. Well, I think that is my hat, as a matter of fact, and it just so happened it kind of fit in with the church motif, because a lot of, especially in the black community, church-going women like to have have been known to have hats, and kind of large brim hats. And then sometimes they can have, different types of, especially the first ladies. And the first ladies are the minister wives. And they usually always typically have some type of hat. And, it's so fashionable. And to see who's going to have the most fashionable hat this Sunday at church. So that works out. And it just worked out for the scenes as well.
And you mentioned it's your hat personally. Did you have a say in the wardrobe you wore in your costume for that shoot?
That was my wardrobe as well. They asked us to bring a few items and different things. One of the ladies that was doing the stylist and hair, makeup, whatever, she's actually really wanted me to show a little bit more cleavage. Going back to the Miss Parker days, and she said, push it up. We can add it, put some stuff under here on your bra. I'm like, oh, honey, I have enough to push up. I didn't need that. But so they were thinking about, trying to duplicate some of the Miss Parker little famous scenes, subliminally, so to speak. But it just, everything moves so fast in that video.
It does.
Of course, it takes a lot of time and all day and a couple of days to shoot it. And then you might see yourself for 1 second, 5 seconds, blip, 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 blip. And those videos go so quickly, you have to stop and pause it. It's like, who's that? Because I did do another scene, actually, with Mike Epps, the actor, comedian Mike Epps. And it was a kind of a takeoff from the Friday movie when Esther Roll, she was with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and she and her fellow witness, they knocked on the door in Ice Cube's house, and he answers it. He said, what do you want? She says, are you prepared to meet your Father God, Jehovah's Witness, on such and such? He looked at her, and he slammed the door in her face. He said, get out of here. And then she said, it's so funny how she says that, this holy lady of all things, trying to be nice and preaching the gospel, trying to get people converted, and she says, it's such a funny scene. I did kind of pick up on that, but they didn't use it, so we're always given a lot and doing extra things, but it's better to have it. And when it comes to the editing floor, you never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to get, and as you say, it's good to be prepared to give whatever they ask you to do in the moment, and to give, your 100% in the moment when you're filmed. Although going back to your costume and the main cuts that you appear in, the word striking immediately jumps to mind. Thank you. That's good to know.
Kathleen Bradley's on the line with us. Kathleen Bradley, the first African-American model to join ranks with Barker's Beauty on The Price is Right, and the author of Backstage at The Price is Right, Memoirs of a Barker's Beauty. Everything you want to know and more about Kathleen's 10-year run as one of the four Barker's, mostly four, sometimes there were three, Barker's Beauties on The Price is Right. Kathleen's book is available, Backstage at The Price is Right, Memoirs of a Barker's Beauty, available wherever books are sold through Amazon.com. You can follow Kathleen, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, KathleenBradley.tv. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay Area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
Hi, this is Pastor Page. You're listening to TV Confidential.
One of the reasons why Kathleen joined us on TV Confidential was to talk about some of the events that have taken place so far in 2025 to mark the 30th anniversary of the release of Friday. With that in mind, as we pick up our conversation with Kathleen, we asked her, I understand Ice Cube personally wanted you to play Mrs. Parker.
Right. Well, you know, he had watched The Price is Right, like so many people watch and love The Price is Right, especially back then when Bob Barker was on. And he saw me, and he, I think, was looking for me or asked my agent or somebody, tracked me down. He said, I want that black lady on The Price is Right. Everybody would always refer to me as the black lady on The Price is Right. Even when I go out to grocery stores or shopping or something, and I could tell the mom was the daughter or somebody was shopping, they were like to the side, and then they would, you know, it's like people want to say something and then they don't want to say it. They're reluctant to come over and talk to you, but they say, aren't you that black lady on The Price is Right? I said, yeah, I am. But sometimes Bob would say, the lovely Kathleen on the show, the lovely Holly, the lovely, so some people knew my first name was Kathleen or what have you, but Ice Cube did say he wanted me, and I did go audition, and there was only maybe one or two other women for that part, and he was pretty much sure he wanted me to do it, which I'm so grateful that it did, and it happened.
And going back to the idea of miracles, I mean, there are a lot of stories. I've talked to a lot of actors. I've talked to a lot of creatives who will say when you're putting a movie together, when you're putting a TV show together, a lot of times you start with one or two particular people. You may say, I want Kathleen Bradley to play Mrs. Parker, but just because that's the person you have in mind, the universe doesn't always align so that you can cast her in that role. But so the fact that Ice Cube wanted you, right, and you got the part, I mean, that's also a miracle.
Right, and also we better pray and hope for the miracle forthcoming, which is going to be the next Friday, the last Friday they're going to be doing. And it has been in the works for over, 4 or 5 years, because Lionsgate, who owns the rights to Friday at some point, and Ice Cube and the other writers, they were unable to convince them to, I guess, go with the script that Ice Cube wanted to go with. I've heard a few different things. There's a lot of controversy about why or when is the last Friday coming out. So they just recently came to terms with the producer, of movie companies to go ahead and gave the green light to go ahead and get this last Friday done. So I'm hopeful that I will be in it, as well as my very dear friend Alicia, who's played Felicia, Angela Means. So we're going to see exactly what it's all about. Because, it's only right and fitting that they would go back to the old neighborhood and see if some of the same people are still living there in the area, just kind of at least allude to it or build a few little scenes around that area in the neighborhood. Because, you don't want to change the beer that made Milwaukee famous. Like you go in, like the second one was not the best one ever. It was terrible. They moved all the way out to Rancho Cucamonga or somewhere. Who the hell? It was terrible. Anyway, so we'll see what happens.
Okay,
fingers crossed.
Well, fingers crossed. We'll keep good thoughts for you. In the meantime, we're very happy that Kathleen Bradley is spending part of her day with us today. Kathleen Bradley, the first African-American model to join ranks with Barker's Beauty on The Price is Right, and the actress known around the world as Mrs. Parker in Friday. You can follow Kathleen on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, KathleenBradley.tv. One of your scenes in Friday is with the great Bernie Mac. Now, I have been told by one other actress who worked with Bernie, that he was the type of actor that even if you met him for the very first time, when you sit down and you do scenes with him, you feel an instant connection with them as a person and as a performer. What was your experience? Was that your experience working with Bernie? What was it like working with Bernie Mac?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, it's just odd for people that are listening. But black people in particular, I think we have a brotherhood, kinship, sisterhood. And it's a thing, like, even when you say, if you're out in a crowd somewhere and there's a lot of different people, and if there just happens to be one or two black persons and you look at each other, you nod. Because it's a kinship, it's a feeling. It's a spiritual thing when you do meet black people or you're around certain people that you can kind of relate to. And just being in the environment, obviously, was, a black-oriented picture. Bernie, being the person he is, he felt like a brother. He felt it was very comfortable being around him and Ice Cube, Chris Tucker, and the director, F. Gary Gray. And the Bernie Mac was just right off the bat, we hit it off. Just a great guy. Very, very cheery, everybody on the set basically had a really good attitude, had a good feeling, and just funny, and, no pressure, no divas, no people trying to take over and do certain things, and attitude. And it was really a pleasure working with Bernie.
Kathleen Bradley's on the line with us. Kathleen Bradley, the actress known around the world as Mrs. Parker in Friday. We'll take a quick time out. We'll talk sports, Kathleen, when we come back here on TV Confidential.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-222-0511. 800-222-0511. Again, that's 800-222-0511.